I'm going to try to provide a quick real world example of an organization, as Emily said, that was ahead of the game and has already followed a lot of Laura's advice to embrace digital transformation, ditch the old way of doing things, and their business really benefited. So I want to share, paint some hope, a vision of possibility. And before I do that, I'll give just a really brief overview of SourceDay. So the next slide. So SourceDay is all about supply chain performance. We strive to give our customers more command and control over their supply chain, whether they're manufacturers, retailers, distributors, consumer products companies, and all of their suppliers globally. Thousands of organizations use SourceDay to bridge the gap between their ERP systems, we've worked with dozens of them over the years, and their supplier network to provide more visibility and more accountability between their buyers and suppliers. So we've processed billions of dollars in spend. We help organizations manage millions and millions of changes on a monthly, weekly, daily basis, which has helped them achieve on time, in full, more often from their suppliers, and ultimately protected lots of revenue in their business. So if you go to the next slide, we like to say that late parts are our common enemy. And we're big believers in identifying root causes and heading them off at the pass. This chart shows what we have learned in working with thousands of companies globally is that change is not new. In fact, it's constant when it comes to modern supply chains. The fact is that even prior to the global pandemic last year, when we look across our customers' purchase orders with their suppliers, we learned that 40% on average are going to have a change of some kind. Most of that change will be a change to dates, things that either a supplier can't meet the date or the customer requires a part to come in faster, but also prices, quantities, quality specifications, and sadly and ironically, all of that change is managed in spreadsheets and emails and phone calls between a buying team, procurement team, and in most cases, hundreds of suppliers. So if you go to the next slide, why is that? Why are we stuck in spreadsheets and emails today? It's the year 2021. Well, it's a really simple answer. That is that every product organization, regardless of what they make, whether it's high-tech products or fashion goods, will use an ERP system to do a lot of important automation inside the four walls of the business. Scheduling, planning, production, finance processes have all been streamlined and made more efficient because of their ERP. And that ERP is smart enough to automate the creation of a purchase order. It identifies when it's time to replenish inventory, but that's where the automation stops, because starting with the issuance of a purchase order, it's a buying team's job to manually send those orders to suppliers. And starting with the acknowledgement, all of the back and forth, that 40% of change I just talked about, is done through archaic means, phone calls, emails, and spreadsheets. So there's this massive disconnect. And we have historically and traditionally, 90%, I bet, of the folks who've tuned in today are still managing this process through spreadsheets and emails, which means if 40% of your orders are changing, that means up to 40% of your supplier data in your ERP is wrong, which leads to tons of waste. Things get lost, missed, and that's why on time in full has been such a challenge for everyone to solve. Next slide. So what does SourceDay do? Well, we help you ditch your spreadsheets. We replace all of that chaos with easy to use cloud-based software that's available to both the buying team and all the stakeholders internal to a business, as well as their supplier network. Most of our customers will have hundreds of suppliers, hundreds or thousands of parts that they're procuring from those suppliers, parts or raw materials if you're in contract manufacturing. And rather than the old-fashioned back and forth, they use SourceDay. So SourceDay picks up purchase orders as the ERP issues them, notifies the supplier that there's a new order, and then starting with the acknowledgement, all of the changes to price, quantity, dates, etc., can happen in one place. Both sides have a single source of truth that's available and has, in fact, especially in the last year, been used in work from home scenarios or anywhere around the world to drive more efficiency, more visibility, and ultimately better performance for everyone's businesses. So with that, I'll thank you, Laura. We'll move into the story of hope and possibility with Chatsworth Products. They are a power management solutions company. They have about 400 employees. They're based here in Austin, Texas. And they came to us 2 years ago with a common scenario of late parts. In their case, there were 25 or 30 parts out of hundreds that were chronically late. but critical, and would shut down production, create massive waste and massive risk for their business. They're a fast growing organization. They couldn't afford that anymore. So they came to us looking for help. And the help that we provided was to eliminate manual processes. And then one more piece I wanted to note is just like Laura shared, one of the key mitigating ways that they mitigated that risk was to store lots of excess inventory, lots of extra buffer stock in the form of work in process materials that tied up working capital and also eroded margin. So after using SourceDay and embracing cloud software, replacing spreadsheets and email, we integrated with their ERP, started automatically processing and managing purchase orders throughout their life cycle. They saw a dramatic improvement in on-time delivery. Late supplier deliveries were down 70%. So this chart is showing the average late delivery from suppliers on a quarterly basis dating back to 2018. And so that 70% reduction in lates led to the next slide, which is they're now on an average of 90% on time in terms of receiving the parts they need when they need them from suppliers. So what kind of impact has that had on their business? Well, it's been massive. They have reduced that work in process inventory I talked about by 66%. Those parts were taking a lot of space in their warehouses, which as a result of improving that and getting rid of all that excess, they've saved money, freed up cash, and the last slide I'll share, punchline, they've been able to keep up with the growth of their business because they're redeploying that warehouse space to make finished goods now and meet customer demand. So these are the success stories that the team at SourceDay comes to work every day striving for. It makes us, thrilled to show that we can talk about in the research. 96 to 100% of the folks who responded to the Hackett Group survey said that they're looking for improved visibility in their supply chain and looking to manage risk better. Well, it's possible. And you just have to follow Laura's advice and embrace the technologies that are out there. No need to wait.